The coffee in Sarah's cup trembled. Just a ripple at first, then a violent shake that sent drops spattering across her tray table. She'd been a flight attendant for 12 years, long enough to know the difference between normal turbulence and something wrong. Flight 447 from Seattle to Miami had been unremarkable until now. 237 passengers, a mostly full cabin, families heading to Disney World, business people scrolling through emails, the usual Tuesday afternoon crowd at 35,000 feet. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Morrison. We're experiencing some technical difficulties and will need to descend to a lower altitude. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Sarah caught the tremor in his voice. In 12 years, she'd never heard Morrison sound uncertain. She moved down the aisle with practiced calm, helping an elderly woman with her belt, retrieving a fallen stuffed bear for a little girl in 14C. The plane lurched. Oxygen masks dropped like puppet strings cut all at once. A woman screamed, then another. The overhead bins rattled as the aircraft tilted at an angle that defied everything Sarah knew about flight. "Daddy!" The little girl in 14C looked up at her father with eyes too young to understand what the masks meant. Her father's hands shook as he secured her mask first, then his own. Sarah saw him mouth a prayer. She grabbed the nearest seat as the plane dropped, her stomach lurching into her throat. Through the window, she could see the wing, or what was left of it. Smoke streamed from the engine, black against the brilliant blue sky. They were over the Appalachians. She could see the endless green carpet of forest below, growing larger with terrifying speed. "Brace! Brace! Brace!" Morrison's voice cracked over the intercom. Sarah locked eyes with Tom, her colleague of 8 years. They'd shared thousands of flights, complained about difficult passengers, celebrated birthdays at airport bars. No words passed between them now, just a nod, just acknowledgement. Time became elastic, each second stretched like taffy. Sarah thought of her daughter's ballet recital next week, the one she'd promised not to miss this time. She thought of her mother's lasagna, her ex-husband's laugh, the garden she'd been meaning to plant, all the mundane, beautiful pieces of a life she'd taken for granted. The plane was shaking itself apart. A carry-on bag broke free, tumbling down the aisle. A man was crying openly, phone pressed to his ear. "I love you," he said over and over. "Tell the kids I love them." Sarah gripped her seat and closed her eyes. She thought of every safety procedure she'd memorized, every evacuation drill, every training session. None of it mattered now. They were falling from the sky, and there was nothing she could do but fall with them. The little girl in 14C was singing, softly, almost inaudibly beneath the screaming engines and crying passengers. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Her father held her tight, tears streaming down his face. The trees were individual now. Sarah could make out branches, clearings, a stream catching sunlight like a silver ribbon. Beautiful, she thought. It's all so beautiful. The impact, when it came, was not what she expected. There was noise, the sound like the world ending, metal shrieking and trees snapping, then spinning, tumbling, the seatbelt cutting into her waist. Fire bloomed somewhere behind her, orange and hungry. Smoke filled her lungs. Then silence. Sarah opened her eyes. She was hanging upside down, still strapped to her jump seat. The aircraft had split. Through the gap, she could see sky. Blue, perfect sky. She heard moaning, crying, someone calling for help, living sounds. "I'm here," she croaked, fumbling with her belt. "Hold on, I'm coming." Her training kicked in, muscle memory overriding shock. She freed herself, dropped to what was now the ceiling. The emergency exit was jammed, but there was the split in the fuselage, wide enough. She could smell fuel, knew they had minutes at best. "Come on," she shouted, reaching for the nearest person, a businessman, dazed and bleeding from his forehead. "We have to move, now." One by one, she pulled them out. The elderly woman, limping but alive, Tom, his arm hanging at a wrong angle, but his eyes clear. A teenager crying for her mother. The mother, 2 rows back, unconscious but breathing. 14C, Sarah remembered. She crawled back into the wreckage, into the smoke. The little girl was still strapped in, still clutching her bear. Her father was slumped beside her, but Sarah felt a pulse, weak but there. "I've got you, sweetheart," Sarah said, releasing the buckle. "We're going to be okay." The little girl wrapped her arms around Sarah. "And are we still flying?" "No, baby, we landed." Outside, survivors were gathering in the clearing, some helping others, some sitting in shock. Sarah counted. 47. Maybe more in the other section. Not everyone, not even close to everyone, but some. She sat down hard, the little girl still in her arms, and looked up at the sky they'd fallen from. In the distance, she could hear sirens. Help was coming. The little girl started singing again. "How I wonder what you are." Sarah held her tight and let herself cry. They had survived the fall. Now they just had to survive what came after.